Greetings. This is Justin Allen with the Elite Nurse Practitioner. Welcome to the Elite Nurse Practitioner Show, podcast dedicated to nurse practitioner entrepreneurism and achieving financial freedom, where I talk directly with nurse practitioners who need help. Listen up, our market is saturated. Jobs can be scarce. We are underpaid. We are undervalued. We are taken advantage of by the sharks within the healthcare system, and frankly, screw that. Sick of it, and it's time for a change. And listen, I'm here to help make that happen. We are powerful. We can forge a path where we are in control of our career and ultimately our financial and personal well-being. You do not need to submit to healthcare administrators and your doctor overlords. You do not have to take the measly salary. You do not have to work 50 to 60 hours a week. There is a different way, and I'm here to show you that path. This podcast is raw and unfiltered. I have not talked to the nurse practitioners in this podcast prior to the call outside of an email exchange to schedule the episode. What you're about to listen to is a consultation session between a nurse practitioner and myself. It is real, it is unscripted, it is unplanned, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Anything and everything can happen during our conversation. The nurse practitioners in these episodes are struggling with an issue in their professional or financial life, and they have reached out to me for help. My goal is to help the nurse practitioner with actionable advice that will enhance and improve their professional, business, and financial life. My other goal is to hopefully help my nurse practitioner sisters and brothers build a more productive, powerful, and free life. So I hope the content and information within these podcast episodes does just that. All right, onto the episode. Hello, everyone. Today we'll be talking to Becky, who is a registered nurse. She is currently working as a nurse educator for a pharmaceutical company. She's wanting to start a functional medicine-based business once she finishes her nurse practitioner degree in a couple years, as she is just starting NP school. She's needing assistance getting her head into the right mindset to be an entrepreneur and how to prepare to hit the ground running when she finishes. Hey, Becky, how are you?
Hey, Justin. Great. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on here. So I typically don't speak to very many just registered nurses getting ready to start NP school. So this should be a pretty interesting, pretty interesting episode. So I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been a registered nurse for, and what's your plans for the next couple of years.
Yeah, so I've been a nurse for 7 years. I've kind of jumped around trying to figure out what is it that's I like that is right for me. I work as a pharmaceutical nurse educator now. I do pretty well at my current job, have really great life balance, but I've always had this dream of going back to school, and I'm particularly interested in functional medicine. So I decided to make the jump to go back to school. I start the next couple of months. And so, I just wanted to find out and pick your brain and, starting a functional medicine business, once I graduate school, and just kind of prepare myself for that.
Okay, sounds good. So let's just start from the the foundation here, the base. So you are starting NP school here in a few months. So you're going to go for your FNP, I imagine?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, that's the most diverse NP degree you can get. People who end up going with acute care or adult or geriatric or whatever really limits their scope and Yeah. So FNP, that is the right decision. So I imagine you're going to continue working while you're going to school?
Yeah, I have a pretty flexible job now. And I think that's why I've struggled with this idea of even just going back to school NPs, if you don't own your own business, you don't make that much money.
No.
And in the pharmaceutical / medical device space, it does allow for a higher income and sometimes even a greater work-life balance. And so I've struggled so much with the idea of, should I go back to school? Is it going to be worth it? But I think I love what I do, but there's just so much that you can educate on when you're, a representative of this medication. And I just have more of a functional medicine mindset. It's helped me in my life. And so that's why I've struggled so much. And now I think I've just come to the realization where, listen, if it's not going to fulfill you, even if you are making good money, could just make the jump. And who knows, maybe this, business that I want to run is going to be more successful than what I'm doing now, financially wise. Yeah.
So I'm just curious, how much do you make right now?
Right now I'm at 150.
Yeah, that's going to be more than you'll make as an employed nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I get a car, so I get a lot of good perks and a lot of good benefits. And I get to really make my own schedule with my patients. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got a pretty sweet gig, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you make more than probably the majority of NPs listening to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. NP school to become an employed nurse practitioner, to be quite frank, I think is just a shit show, honestly. It's
Yeah.
yeah, you don't make that much money. You have more liability. You typically work more like, you know, NP school and honestly, school in general, for the most part, is designed
Yeah.
to create working slaves, really. It's
Yeah.
just, it's
Exactly.
created. Yeah, yeah. The public school system is created to, build a workforce, basically. It's not there to build an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, nursing school, especially NP school. So you're going into this with, this mindset, makes it worthwhile because honestly, if you were just going to be an employed nurse practitioner, it'd be a waste of your time, right? I mean, you make good money,
Yeah.
good
That's
hours.
exactly what, yeah, I've been struggling with that thought. I'm like, it doesn't even make sense.
No, no. How old are you?
I'm 28.
28, making $150,000 a year. Yeah, I mean, you're in a really good position here, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So I guess what is the main drive to go to NP school with you making such good money? I mean, is it just to start your own practice? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I got that diagnosed with a thyroid issue, Hashimoto's. And ever since then, I've been just dealing with just a bunch of, an array of different symptoms, but I've really been able to heal myself and just feel so much better through functional medicine. So I'm a big, just advocate when it comes to root cause medicine. But so yeah, that's why I want to do this is because of that. I want to help so many other people that are going through what it is that I went through and they just don't have a way out.
Right, right.
So I'm not sure if I want to focus just on thyroid health or just do, an array of just functional medicine in general, like gut health and everything. I feel like that would probably be a little bit more profitable in the sense where you're not just stuck just doing one thing.
Sure.
But there is a provider here local in my area who just does thyroid health. And I mean, when I tried to see him, he wanted to charge me like $4,000 for all of these like exams and just the protocols and things like that. I'm just thinking like, how much is this guy making?
Well,
He's a chiropractor.
he's making a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. Um, okay, so I think step number one here is go into NP school with realistic expectations because you are not going to learn root cause medicine
Mhm.
in NP school. You're
Yeah.
going to learn how to be a protocol, non-thinking, guideline accepting worker bee. I mean, that's what they're going to teach you in NP school. They're going to teach
Yeah.
you how to follow protocol, how to follow guidelines, and not really critically think. I'm sorry, but nursing school or NP school does not teach you how to critically think. It doesn't. You either have it or you don't, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you kind of do. You sound like, you sound like you're a pretty smart girl. Um, so yeah, so you're gonna have to just basically grit your teeth, go to NP school,
Yeah.
suck it up, and just
Yeah.
be, rolling your eyes most of the time and just, just get it done. Um, you're gonna have to learn a lot of this on your own. Okay.
Hmm.
When I went to NP school, I honestly couldn't stand it. I was sitting in class half the time, like half asleep. I was just like, this is so stupid. What the hell am I doing here? Like, I just feel like I'm smarter than, I'm smarter than the professor. Like, this is just dumb, but I have to be here and I have to do it, right? So just grit your teeth and get through it, okay? You're gonna have to make this your own thing, okay?
Yeah.
Basically, you're going to be in control of how well educated you are and what it is that you want to do while you're going through school. So, first step here is to make sure that you set up your clinical rotations and stuff with more functional
Mhm.
based providers.
Okay.
Okay. So, don't go to just some, Joe Schmo family clinic or whatever, like, and managing diabetes and hypertension, by just prescribing meds and ordering tests. Like, you need to get out there and be willing to maybe even drive to clinical sites. You need to be trying to get into some functional medicine, primary care clinics, et cetera. So that way you can learn that from the get-go.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah. So first off, be preparing for that, be making some calls, get all that stuff aligned and set up and ready to go because NP school
Mhm.
is really what you make of it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's step number one. Okay. That way you get some, real life, hands-on functional medicine, integrative medicine based training. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how much time you're going to have while you're in school to kind of educate yourself on your own. I mean, you're going to be juggling a
Yeah.
full-time job while going to school and studying, etc. So, so yeah, but I would maybe maybe take a couple functional medicine courses here and there during the summer,
Yeah.
buy some books and really start trying to wrap your mind around that, as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I've also tried to, I started like my own little Instagram page and just with that business mindset already in place, thinking, okay, this is what's going to help me in the future. So, I only have about 45 followers, but slowly but surely it'll grow,
Oh yeah.
hopefully.
Oh, it will. It will. Building a social media following for your business is just it's a long game. You just gotta be patient. So, um, okay. So I guess one of my other questions for you would be, why not start this now and just kind of be more like a functional medicine based health coach utilizing your RN scope?
I've heard that. I've heard that you really don't need to be an NP. But I've struggled with that thought for like 2 years now, and I've spoken to just different nurse practitioners, different nurses, and I mean, I've heard from a lot of NPs that say you have the doors open up so many more ways when you are an NP, because if you were to want to branch off and you were to want to maybe prescribe medication or just like have a greater understanding, um, you know, they had all mentioned like it's definitely helped them being an NP and also with just credibility. So that's kind of where I thought, I've thought about this and I wrestled with this because I said, do I really need to go back? But that's something I want to talk to you about because again, a lot of people are like, you don't need to do it, but aren't there benefits to it, to being an NP? Like what have you seen or
Well, I mean, yeah, it's going to make your life easier, right? I mean, you're going to be able to one that's going to be able to order the medication, to order, the tests, to order
yeah,
diagnostics. You don't have to go through a medical director, right, or a provider that you have to
exactly.
pay to do that.
Yeah,
A lot of functional medicine, though, is more lifestyle change, diet
yeah,
change, supplements, those kinds of things that don't really require, a provider license. So
sure.
it's kind of those double-edged sword things, right? I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of your patients, you might not, a lot of them, you're never going to prescribe anything for them, right?
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And so then it's just like, well, then what do you do for ordering tests and labs and whatnot? Well, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of lab companies out there that you can just order tests. You don't have to have a provider license to do it. Like they have providers there that just sign the orders. You know what I mean?
So you could realistically just say, "Hey, I want to order like a GI map or whatever, like whatever test," and then you could realistically just say, "I'm just going to do this," and you don't have to say, "Oh, well, because that's one thing is I just thought it looks to me more professional to be able to say, "Okay, this is the plan. Like I'm going to order this test for you," instead of saying, "Okay, this is the plan. Why don't you go back to your PCP and see if they
No,
can
no.
order a thyroid panel."
Yeah, no, you would order it. No, you would order it through one of these lab companies that don't require a provider order.
Ah, I see.
Like
I see.
they have like they have providers on staff that just sign off on orders.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Like anybody in this country can go online and order lab tests. Anybody can.
Yeah.
You don't even have to be a provider. You just get on there and go to one of these lab companies and be
Yeah.
like, this is what I want. And they'll just do it. Then they have a provider that
Yeah.
just signs off on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not really that big of a deal. It's not really that much of a hurdle. Okay.
Sure.
But then it comes down to, though, what if you do want to prescribe some medications and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess, do you want to be locally based doing this in your state?
I think to start off, I mean, if this can take off and then, if I mean, let's just say I do go the thyroid route and then it's something that I'm really good at and something that I can help lots and lots of patients, then I mean, if it becomes bigger, then great.
Yeah. So does your state have independent practice as a nurse practitioner?
I'm in Florida, so I know it's somewhat restricted, but
Yeah,
yeah.
no, not really. Yeah, in Florida, you're only independent as an NP if you're doing primary care.
Got it.
Now,
Okay.
it can be argued that, I mean, you could do primary care from a functional medicine perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as long as you're providing primary care based services from your
Okay.
functional medicine viewpoint, then you're independent.
Okay. Okay.
You can't in Florida just open up a weight loss clinic. You can't just open up a men's health clinic. You can't open up an IV infusion clinic as an NP. You have to have a supervisor.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
But even then, right? I listened to your other podcast. Even then, that's not the end of the world, right?
It's not the end of the world, no, but the
Yeah.
point is that you're still going to pay that person.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so as an RN, if you
Yeah.
just paid a medical director, it probably would be about the same price.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost like defeats the purpose of going back to school in a way.
It's right. You know what I mean? I mean, sure, you have more autonomy and whatnot for sure. I mean, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So maybe just be, maybe, I'm not telling you not to go back to MB school. That is not what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I'm
Sure.
saying that you could start now, though, if you wanted to, and serve as more of a health coach. You don't have to say you're a health coach, but you would be basically in that coaching scope, that kind of coaching position, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you could, but um, if you want to go to NP school though, get that license and be able to do that, free of having someone sign off on orders and whatnot, then yeah. And
Yeah.
plus it gives you also that base too to manage, various conditions and whatnot. Because listen, at the end of the day, I don't care if you're functional medicine based or not. If someone has strep throat, they need an antibiotic.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do. You're not going to give someone colloidal silver to cure their strep throat.
Yeah.
Like they need amoxicillin, right?
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So those are the benefits of it as well. You can be a little bit more of a diversified provider. You don't have to do everything functional medicine. Like
Yeah.
there is a place for pharmaceuticals.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I was thinking. I just thought, if I did go back to school, A, I want to do it now before I get any older and I have kids. And then two, there is more of an option to just kind of, think outside the box and do other things.
100%. Absolutely. You could do weight loss too out of your functional medicine practice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone
Yeah.
has 80 pounds to lose, like sure you can do the whole, holistic approach and whatnot, but you could also prescribe them, GLP-1 if you wanted to.
Sure. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
yeah. So it would definitely make you a more diversified, practitioner, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I say go for it. If you have the time to do it and you want to do it, it's only a couple of years. You're 28 years old. I mean, you'll be 30, 31 years old when it's done. Big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
You're still young.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's kind of where my head was at. And I listened to different podcasts too. I think it was your podcast. There was like a nurse that was giving, um, she was giving like injections in the knee for patients that had, just like arthritis and things like that. And there's like just different, I don't know, just little different niche, um, things that they've picked up where they have profited from, you know, doing these little jobs here and there. And I just said, oh, that's interesting. Why not? Like I could learn all these things, and not that I want to be everywhere, but just trying to find out what works best for me. And I feel like as an NP, you could kind of do that.
You can. You are. I mean, your skill
Yeah.
set's a lot more diversified for sure. You can do a lot.
Yeah.
You can do procedures. You can do all kinds of different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Jump into
mean?
aesthetics if you want to, but I know it's all super over, a little overpopulated at this point, but
Yeah, it's a pretty saturated thing. It's pretty hard to get into it and really
yeah.
start something
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
profitable. Yeah. Um, so I'd say, go to NP school, but just like I said, make sure that you make it your own because you're going to go to NP school and you're not going to learn what it is that you want to learn if this is the route you want to go. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot of self-study, a lot of going, taking other courses on your own and, that sort of a thing. So it's going to be really what you make of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in terms of starting this business, so you are going to want to start it as soon as you get out. Are you thinking about working as an NP for a little while somewhere while starting this, or Continue your,
Yeah.
sweet gig as in the pharmaceutical company? Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I struggle with that thought too because I've heard, and that's something I wanted to ask you about too. I don't know if you've heard of the Institute for Functional Medicine,
Yeah.
their courses, and so they're super super expensive. I don't know if
Yeah.
they're really truly all they're hyped up to be. But I thought about once I graduate taking courses through them, and then even just finding out. I know you have some courses too. Just finding out like what is realistically going to help me in my journey. And then from there, I mean, yeah, I'm thinking that I most likely will have to go part-time with this job. They have like on-demand nurses, and so I was thinking maybe if timing works out, I could go part-time and then just kind of stay part-time while I'm working on this. Yeah, I don't think I really want to go work as an MP. I mean, after doing this job after school, but then again, if I did work for a functional medicine provider and just kind of learn the ropes, even if it's a couple months to a year, just as I'm also diving into these courses, that could help as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a feasible strategy for sure. You could do that. From a financial standpoint, from just a realistic business startup standpoint, um, just continuing your job right now in a full-time fashion while starting this practice, as more or less a side hustle,
Yeah.
part-time until it grows is probably the most strategic, advantageous thing you could do. Okay.
Yeah.
When you start your business, you're not going to be working as much as you think you're going to be working. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to take time to build up that patient, census and build that
Absolutely.
volume up. Yeah. So you could continue working full time, making your $150,000 a year and
Yeah.
see patients on Fridays,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. And then as the patient volume increases, that's when you start cutting back at work. Right.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my recommendation would be is to try to stay full time as long as you possibly can while just building this on
Yeah.
the side.
Yeah. I worked
Yeah.
with somebody actually that went to MP school and he did this job full time, which this job it's very easy to just create your own schedule. And he's like, I just did clinical hours on this, over the weekends. And I just try to flex my time as much as I could so I could just stay part-time or full-time. And now he works still for the pharmaceutical company, but he works as a medical science liaison. He's like making over 200K a year. He's just killing it.
Well,
But
there you go.
that's somebody who took advantage of the MP degree so that he could, advance his career in that way.
Sure, sure. So I mean, you already have your foot in the door into something that's very lucrative, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And, worst case scenario here, let's say that you start this little practice and it just stays a little side business. Like, let's just say
Yeah.
that it gives you, something that's really motivating you, something that's really bringing you a lot of purpose, a lot of fulfillment. And let's just say it stays 1 or 2 days a week. And then you just continue working full time for this pharmaceutical business, going
Yeah.
into another position like that or whatever. And, you're making $200,000 a year and the business is, generating another $10, $15, $20,000 a month for you. I mean, that's a real possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be great.
Yeah. So you just really won't know till you do it. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So just go into a realistic, like, just when you get, out of school, don't expect to just jump into this kind of a thing full time. It's going to take some time. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll probably take you a year to build a pretty solid patient base. I mean, these things take time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're making really good money. So you can invest a lot of money into this business and it's not going to really hurt you. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. My husband we just talked about that and how much realistically it'll cost. I've heard some of your other podcasts. I mean, it ranges, right? And it depends on what everyone's willing to kind of put up front. But I was thinking of more of that hybrid model. Obviously, once I start to have some more patients, but I'm hoping that while I'm in school and while I'm doing the whole, social media thing, that I'll start to have a little bit of movement and then move to the hybrid model afterwards.
Yeah, 100%. $10,000, to start this thing, maybe. I mean, it doesn't cost much. I mean, if you get a brick and mortar location and you want to make it real nice and whatnot, maybe go up to 20,000. It doesn't cost much. And the great thing about it is that you don't need the income from the business
Yeah.
to survive.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just worried about too, just the competition. So I live in a pretty populated area in Florida, and there's functional medicine, and I'm just thinking too about the years to come, right? Because I'm not done yet with school. So I'm thinking about the future and then competition, and just a little worried about all of that. But then I've
Yeah.
also, yeah, it's hard. But I've also thought too, like, what I want to do, because I've also been to those functional medicine providers that have just said, okay, well, here's, 20 supplements, just take these supplements. And then I've also been to the other side of functional medicine where they're like, that's not functional medicine. That's not root cause medicine. That's just literally doing what a regular provider does and just giving you all these pharmaceuticals to put a Band-Aid over your symptoms.
Right.
So I'm thinking, okay, well, you can always differentiate yourself in whatever it is that you do, right? You can always be the best you can be. So that's what's kind of, keeping me there with that mindset of, okay, just keep going, just do it. But I just wanted to ask you and pick your brain about competition with living in a place like my area, I live with 300,000 other people.
Right. Well, that and another million people, within 50 miles. I mean, Florida's
Yeah.
Florida's crowded. I mean, unless you're in like central Florida out in the country, like otherwise it's, along the
Yeah.
coast. I mean, you're millions of people. I mean, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
crowded. Yeah.
Could be good and bad. Good for business, but bad for other people that are also business savvy and want to open up their own.
Correct. Yeah. That's probably one of the more saturated markets in the country, to be honest with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean you can't be successful. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like, you set yourself apart by providing
Yeah.
amazing care, amazing customer service and whatnot, then competition really isn't going to bother you. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if you're exceptional, then competition is nothing, because most of those other people out there are not exceptional. They're lazy and they're cookie cutter kind of protocols and whatnot. So, you don't really have to worry too much about them. So
Sure.
you
Yeah.
going in with that mindset, you should be okay. It's just going to take some time because it is saturated and it does take time to establish credibility. It does take time to get the word of mouth snowball started. It does take time to, amass lots of online reviews and testimonials and these kinds of things. So, if you're willing to put the work into it and you are willing to be persistent about it, okay, and you stick it out for 1 to 2 years, then there will be light at the end of the tunnel and it should
Yeah.
pay off. Most businesses fail because they just give up after 6 months.
Sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
here today if I would have given up 6 months in.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be honest with you. Most of my businesses 6 months in were not that profitable.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
It took a couple years, to be perfectly honest
Yeah.
with you. It usually takes 1 to 2 years to get a business up and running that is generating, some decent money. You got to be
Sure.
persistent with it. So
Yeah.
All right. I hope everyone's enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick break to thank everyone listening and also give a big thank you to all of my social media followers and email subscribers. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our email list at www.elitenp.com and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Email subscribers will receive updates on new weekly podcast episodes, multiple weekly articles we publish, new courses, and everything else related to helping you succeed. Remember, all elite nurse practitioner courses are designed to help you build a niche practice, increase your financial strength, and to break free from the rat race. If I can break free and the other countless nurse practitioners can break free, then so can you. Additionally, please share this podcast with your other nurse practitioner sisters and brothers out there. The more NPs that venture out on their own, the stronger our profession will become. Now, let's get back to the episode.
So now knowing what you just said about Florida and the restrictions and all of that. So I was always on the fence with, okay, do I want to stick with just thyroid health because that's what I'm passionate about and I've dealt with, or do you want to go through, the whole enchilada, like, the whole family medicine, but but also functional medicine side of
Yeah.
things? Like, would you specialize?
Well, if you stick to just thyroid, you're going to have to pay for a collaborator.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. That's not primary care. You know what I mean?
sure. Yeah, yeah,
So, in my opinion, to get around the whole collaboration, issue is that if you are a little bit more generalized, but you specialize in these, one or two things or three,
I see.
then you're
Okay,
okay.
okay, okay.
But, let's say you specialize in thyroid health from a functional medicine standpoint, gut health, maybe, I don't know, whatever else.
Yeah,
But if someone comes in for their hypertension or whatever, and they're looking,
yeah,
to treat that from a functional medicine standpoint, or they have some sort of cardiometabolic issue or whatever, you could treat that as well, right?
sure, sure.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
okay, okay. All right.
yeah. Or even if, someone like, pediatric functional medicine is huge. There's a
Yeah,
lot of people looking for alternative kind of care for their kids, basically. And so, if you can do a little bit of that as well, like you can really build up a really strong patient volume and a patient census. And as you dive into it and you start seeing more patients and you start diversifying your skill set, you might find other passions in there.
yeah, yeah.
If,
You're right. You're right.
yeah, if you do just thyroid health and nothing else, the chances
Yeah.
are it's probably going to get pretty redundant after a while.
Sure, sure.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, I was just thinking about that provider that I had saw, and I'm wondering, how is he able to charge that much? He must have just a ton of patients that are willing to just pay that, because there's not that many functional medicine providers that really focus on thyroid where I live. He's really the only one. And others say that they do, but once you go there, you can tell that they really don't. They don't really know what they're talking about.
right, right. He either charges that much because he doesn't have that many patients,
Yeah,
and that's
true.
what he has to charge to make it worth his while, or he is that good and that's what he charges because he knows he's good. You know,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
really don't know, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, my advice would be is to find two or three things that really, light the fire for you and stick
Yeah.
to those things and be just
Okay.
a little bit more diversified so you can provide patient, care to um, more than just thyroid patients, but you can also get around the whole collaboration regulation.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you say you'd mentioned like, yeah, it does take about a year or two to get your business up and running, would you go as far as the whole hybrid model? Like, when would you start to say, okay, well, let me open up a location? Like, when would that be smart, right? Because I mean, you don't want to open up the first day. Like, I just finished school, I did all of my training, I feel good to go. Now I'm just gonna like open up a location even though I don't have patients. Like, when would you?
Why not?
I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, would I do that? Would it like,
Yeah.
would I lose out on a ton of money?
Nah, start right from the get-go.
Yeah.
So many people are like, I'm gonna start telemedicine and then I'll eventually open up an office. Blah.
Yeah.
That's a fear mindset and that's a scarcity mindset. Okay.
Sure. Sure.
Go into it, balls to the wall here. I mean, just go
Yeah.
into it and do it right from the get-go. Okay.
Yeah.
Open up an office, get your Google business listing, get a beautiful website, and just start it right from the get-go. It makes you look more professional. It
Yeah.
establishes a local base, and I'm telling you, it will pay off.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. I thought like, okay, let me work on my social media. Let me have like a couple patients and then let me go ahead and open up an actual location. That way it'll be worthwhile. But I mean, that's just what, like you said, you do have to take some jumps and leaps and then see where it goes.
Exactly. It's a risk, right? I mean, it is, but
Yeah.
it's not that much risk. I mean, in reality, you're making really good money.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the
Yeah.
day, if it fails,
Yeah.
you're out. It's not the end of
Yeah.
the world, right? You're out $10,000, whatever it costs you to decorate it, furnish the place, whatever, and it's going to cost you $2,000 a month or whatever until someone else takes over the lease.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to suck if it happens, but it's not the end of the world. You're going to go bankrupt.
Sure, sure. Yeah,
You
you're
know,
right. You're right.
yeah,
You're right.
compared to someone who opens up an urgent care or some ridiculous practice that takes out $150,000 business loan and then it sinks. Now they're up shit creek because now they're $150,000 in debt. You're not getting out of that,
Yeah, yeah, you're
right?
right. You're right.
Yeah. So right now, as you go through school and you're making $150,000 a year, you said you were married too, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Your husband does okay.
Yeah, he does pretty well.
He does pretty well. So you're in a very, very good situation. There is absolutely
Yeah.
no reason why by the time you're done with NP school that you
Yeah.
can't have 30, 40, $50,000 set aside for this.
For this. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
no, absolutely.
you
Yeah.
go into it debt free. And
Yeah.
if you lose the entire $50,000, well, like I said, it sucks, but it's not the end
Yeah.
of the world. You just get back up and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, side point here, are you taking loans out for MP school or are you just paying for it?
No, I'm just gonna pay for it.
Okay, good for you. So you're
Yeah.
going to come, you're going to come out of this, debt free basically. And
Yeah.
realistically, do you think you could put aside $50,000 over the next couple years for this?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I do. I hope I don't have to put that much just starting out, just in case it doesn't go
Right.
well.
Sure.
But yeah, I know we can do that realistically.
Right.
But yeah, of course.
Yeah. And I'm not saying you're going to spend the entire $50,000.
Sure.
Okay. I'm just saying you have it there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like it gives you more or less a personal emergency fund and a business emergency fund. Like out of that $50,000, you'll probably only spend, like I said, between 10 and 20 of it on the business.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
And as you start getting patients coming through the door and they're paying you thousands of dollars and whatnot, like it doesn't take that long to, realize a return on that initial investment.
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering too, like as far as profitability and like finding out what is it that you charge. Because the functional medicine clinic that I originally went to charged like an upfront fee of like $200 and the follow-ups were like around like 100 or so. And I think that was on the cheaper end because now I see somebody else who charges like 300 and then 150, 190 for follow-ups.
Right.
I was just curious, like how many patients do you have to make it successful, and what's the best model or is it like a membership or like, as far as monthly, what you should be charging? How do you figure that out?
Well, it's based off, local market conditions first off, right? I mean, you don't want to underprice yourself compared to everyone else, but you also don't want to overcharge, right? So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that you do some market research, prior to opening up. You call around these other practices and you start getting some numbers, you know what I mean? And you start kind of just getting a good understanding of what people are charging. It sounds like to me, $200 or $300 for the initial visit seems to be about market,
Yeah.
and then follow-ups are $100, $150 or whatever. But that's not where that's not where you should be making the majority of your money. The majority of your money should be through membership subscription. As a business owner, you need to focus on recurrent income. Okay. Seeing a patient and charging them for the visit and that's it. That doesn't build a recurrent income stream. That doesn't provide you that base money that, allows you to build that business because you build a business based off recurrent income streams, not one-time patient interactions. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to wrap your mind around how can you capitalize on recurrent income streams. Basically, you do that through subscription-based pricing where they're paying you a set monthly fee. Okay. And then inside that base monthly fee includes the visits. Then it also includes, whatever supplement you're giving them, thyroid med, hormone, whatever it is. Okay. And you include that in that base subscription price. And then that way you have people on, paying, automatic payment, a credit card being charged monthly on an automatic payment plan. And just, every Wednesday or whatever, you get this deposit in your bank account from those recurrent charges. Okay.
So it's almost like a DPC, right? In a way?
In a way, correct.
Okay. Yeah, because I was trying to figure out like what's the best model. And so everyone that I see, they do it this way where they'll just charge you like for the visits. So like monthly membership, if you were to do that, would you include, I mean, obviously the visit and then other like I guess what else would you include in that? I mean, I'm just thinking too, it popped in my head like you could always do like monthly like newsletters and things like that just to make it more, you're involved in this like this community, my
Right.
community.
Yeah, you make it as valuable as you possibly can, right? Charging them $100 a month and that, they get a visit every 3 months. There's no value in that, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to juicing it up. You got to sweeten the berry up as much as you possibly can. And you do
Yeah.
that by, newsletter or something. That's just, that's great.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you need to include the meds in it. You need to include some supplements into it, maybe lab work, like you build a
Okay.
comprehensive program.
Okay.
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 I would highly advise you take our foundational functional medicine course, not only just
Okay.
for the foundational clinical knowledge, but I go over the business startup on it as well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. And also the pricing is included. It'll wrap your mind around these cash-based clinic models.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. That will be worth the money. Trust me. Like you will walk away having good foundational clinical knowledge and plus all the steps, all the consent forms, everything you need for the business.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. But be thinking about that recurrent income. How do you build recurrent income streams? How do you get the
Yeah.
patient to stay with you as long as possible?
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Charging per service per product is not the most profitable way to do things. You want recurrent income stream. You want membership.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've seen that too with a lot of even just like people online. Like they'll charge $50 for there's this chiropractor I follow, functional medicine, who does videos. And so he'll post a new video every month, but he charges you $50 a month just to be a part of his little community. And there he
Right.
is, like, you got a couple hundred people and you're making good money.
Now, hell yeah, you are.
Yeah.
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 And not only does it provide you consistent income and allows you to grow and scale a business, but it also makes it attractive for when the time comes down the road, 10 years from now, 15
Yeah.
years from now, whatever, that if you decide, I want to retire early, I want to be done, and you
Yeah.
sell your business, okay? If you have recurrent income streams and a recurrent income model, it makes your business very, very attractive to potential buyers. It's
Sure.
almost not, it's almost not even non-negotiable. Like you kind of have to, if that's the goal eventually.
Yeah. 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 And I've heard some of your podcasts where you've mentioned that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you got to go into it with, there's two mindsets of going into a business here. Okay. Are you going to be a self-employed individual? Or are you going to go into this with more of an entrepreneurial enterprise mindset?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
And
mean, hell yeah. If I could retire early, why not?
why not? Right. Be 40 years old and be done,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm turning 40 this year, and the next few
Yeah.
years, I'm done. Like I'm
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
I don't got to
Yeah.
see patients anymore. I don't got to work anymore if I don't want to.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the only way you do that is by having that enterprise entrepreneurial mindset, not a self-employed mindset. A self-employed mindset is you're literally employed to the business you started. You're still a slave to it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So be thinking to yourself during this entire process. Ask yourself, it's called the 2-week test. If I take 2 weeks off from my business to go on vacation, does my business still generate revenue and can it still operate on its own? Most people cannot answer that question. Yes. Most people, it's a big no. They leave, they don't make any money, and their business cannot run on its own.
Yeah. 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 Well, I definitely got to look into this whole monthly membership thing. I got to look into your course.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think it'll help you. Any other questions about kind of the startup of this?
So my dad has his own like mechanic business, and then my sister-in-law, she's an esthetician, and she just opened up her own actually I think it's been 3 years now. She just opened up her own business too. And so I just had questions on like where would you find an accountant that, because I've read that there's accountants that know what they're doing when it comes to entrepreneurs and there's others that don't. So, and I know my sister-in-law, she's like, yeah, I got completely screwed last year with taxes. And so what's your recommendation to find like a good accountant that knows what they're doing when it comes to entrepreneurs
Yeah.
owning your
So,
own business?
yeah. So go to the Elite NP website and click like the blog, the articles, and
Okay.
search accountant.
Okay.
I wrote,
Okay.
yeah, I wrote an article on how to find a good accountant. Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
The big thing is that you have to interview multiple accountants. Okay. An accountant works for you, not the other way
Yeah.
around. Okay. They work for you. Therefore, you need to interview multiple accountants and make sure that you're finding one that, yeah, is a small business accountant. Not some guy who works at HR, H&R Block that does,
Yeah.
tax returns so you can get a refund. It don't work that way as a business owner. You know,
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
business owner, you don't get tax refunds,
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to interview some accountants. I I personally like a local accountant. I don't like, an online one that's in another
Yeah.
state. Like I like someone that you can go sit down with.
Yeah.
Um, so interview accountants and make sure that, do you understand small business and do you understand the tax implications, the financial, implications of owning a small business? And if they can't answer that, then, you interview another one.
Got it. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I didn't know you
Yeah.
had that on your website, so I'll definitely have to check that out. Yeah, I guess my goal with this really is like I want to be able to, I want all this to be worthwhile. I want just going back to school to be worthwhile. I want like this business to be worthwhile, and I want it to surpass like what I could realistically make. Even if, because my husband's like, why don't you just get into management at your job? I'm like, I don't want to get into management and work 60 hours a week and be flying here. Like my managers like fly all throughout the country all every week, and I don't want that lifestyle.
No,
So
it
I'm just
suck.
hoping with this. Yeah, I'm hoping with this, like realistically, I mean, I listened to your other podcasts and I've seen that there's nurse practitioners have been super successful opening up their own business. So I hope that's in the cards for me.
I don't see why it wouldn't be. I mean, like I said, you sound like
Yeah.
you got a good mindset, you got a good plan. I just
Yeah.
think that you just need to realistically be prepared that it's going to take a year or two probably to make, good income doing it. But then again, on the other side of the coin, some people kill it within 6 months, like right place, right time, right service, right pricing. Like, that can happen. But on the other side of the coin, it can also take 2 years, So, $150,000 a year that's good money. It's not
Yeah.
a lot of money, but it's good
Yeah.
money,
There's more. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And honestly, generating $150,000 a year through, a practice that you own, it's not terribly difficult to do.
Okay. Okay.
It's really
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
You figure let's say you make $100 a month off each patient just for simple math, you know,
Mhm.
and you have 100 to 150 patients, you're making $150,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that difficult.
So some of your like most successful people that I've listened to on your podcast, it's like they all own the weight loss clinics or like the testosterone replacements, hormone replacements. Um, do you like have you had NPs that have been successful, maybe not so much focusing on that? Because I don't think that's my main thing that I want to focus on, but it sounds like that's really where the money is. And of course, I'm doing this for passion, but also I want it to be lucrative. So,
Sure.
would you like, do you think it could still be lucrative not focusing on those things?
For sure. I mean, I know some NPs out there who own, DPC practices that make well over $1 million a year. Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've talked to some NPs too that do functional medicine and make, $250,000, $400,000 a year.
Sure.
So
Okay.
yeah, it can be. You're it's hard to make the big bucks though when
Yeah.
your product and your service is service visit based.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
kind of the problem with functional medicine, right? Like it's very service oriented, like you're seeing the patients regularly and that kind of thing. It's hard to scale something like that because you only have so much time, right?
Yeah.
Like let's say that you have 2,000 patients.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's that turns into, 30, 40 hours a week of clinical time.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
That's why I keep hammering the point of that subscription-based pricing and trying to provide as much value as you possibly can. The reason why hormone replacement therapy clinics and weight loss clinics and stuff, the reason why they're so profitable is because
Hmm.
there's not a huge time investment.
Yeah.
People are paying you monthly,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you're only seeing them every 3 to 6 months for 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's why it's profitable because they're paying you. Sure, they're paying you for the visits, but they're predominantly paying you for the medication
Yeah, for sure.
that you've then marked up.
Okay. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, that's scalable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I
So,
was thinking. I was like, this is going to be a little tougher than some of the other ones that I've listened to.
yeah. Well, the thyroid stuff though, like you can, let's say you start people on some thyroid hormones or whatever, like, you can get those thyroid hormones through most compounding pharmacies and
Yeah.
you can follow a similar model as a weight loss clinic or even, a testosterone replacement therapy clinic or whatever. People are paying you monthly for the visits, but included in that monthly fee is the hormone, the thyroid hormone that you're getting from a compounding pharmacy.
Got it. I had, when I had first started seeing my provider, I would go directly to the compounding pharmacy and I would just pick it up and pay them. So that company is essentially just losing out on money because they could have just, bought it from them and then sold it to me, correct?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. They just, they build a clinic for the meds and then, you know, patient just picks them up at the compounding pharmacy. They get shipped to their house or they pick them up from your practice. And in that monthly fee is, included the cost of that medication, your cost. So, cost you $30, $45 or whatever for the hormone.
Yeah.
And the patient's paying you $150 a month. Well, now you're
Yeah.
making $120 profit a month and you're seeing them every 3 to 6 months for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
See
Yeah.
how that can snowball real quick,
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the majority of the $1 million practices that the owners that I've talked with, I'm not going to say the majority of them, all of them have a model that's like that, where the patients are paying them a monthly fee or paying them for 3 to 6 months at a time, and they're getting the med from a compounding pharmacy, and then the margin on that is 2 to 4x.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but then too, I'm thinking like, I mean, if you just go get like thyroid medication at Publix or whatever, like grocery store, like pharmacy, it's like $10, I mean, with your insurance.
Yeah, well, that's kind
Yeah.
of where the
Yeah.
value of the visit and more functional medicine perspective comes from, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's where I'm thinking like maybe my markup won't really be med wise. Maybe it'll just have to be, just doing something else, including something else in that
It's
membership.
it's the entire package.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
thyroid hormone, it's the visits,
Yeah.
it's a supplement, it's a vitamin injection, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. It could be a bunch of things. Okay.
It's the
Okay.
entire package. But your goal is to make sure that you're making that $100 to $150 a month profit per patient. That's your
Mhm.
goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything less than that is hard to scale and it's not really worth your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my last question is after everything, right? I mean, obviously you have your rent and that's gonna depend on where you go. But as far as your EMR and just, maybe you have an extra phone line or whatever it is, what's like the just typical cost for that monthly?
For just like the general utility kind of stuff, really.
Yeah, just in general, I'm just thinking, okay, if you have X amount of patients and you're making X amount of money per month, but what's your cost? Obviously, I know rent is different for everybody.
Typical margins on one of these cash-based practices, typically anywhere between 30 to 50%.
Okay.
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 Yeah, that's pretty typical.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you make $100,000 a year, you'll probably make
Mm-hmm.
$40,000 profit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's about typical. And then those expenses, that includes everything. That includes payroll for receptionists. That includes, utilities, rent, the medications, that's everything.
Okay. Okay, good to
Yeah.
know.
So it's pretty profitable. I mean, when you look at other businesses, um, most businesses only have margins of 5%, 10%.
Oh, wow.
That's what people
Yeah.
think about these practices. The margins are huge. 40%. That's that's really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I don't think so. I think that's really it.
Cool. All right. I'd like to end the episode with you asking me a question. Do you have a question for me? A curiosity or a question that you just have for me personally directly?
Um, yeah, I do. I actually have two questions.
All right.
So what's the biggest advice you'd give to yourself if you had to start all of this all over again? Would you do it again?
Yeah. Would I do it again? Yeah, I would have done it
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, people have asked me this question before, and my answer changes because, as I grow as an entrepreneur, I start realizing
Sure.
different things and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things would have been, if I could go back 5 years and I would have just been like, Justin, focus more on that enterprise mindset, focus more on building that business to where you're not in it at all and
Yeah.
where it's attractive to a buyer. So from here on out, any business that I start ever again is going to be starting it with the mindset of eventually selling it because
Yeah.
that's where the windfall money comes. That's where the big paycheck comes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in other words, if you were me, would you do this?
Yeah, you're young, I mean, you're like 28 years old. You're far ahead of the curve of the average nurse practitioner want to start their own business. I mean, most NPs that want to start their own business are in their mid 30s or even 40s. I'd say the average age is probably anywhere between 35 and 45. So you're wanting to start this much younger. So
Mhm.
I would definitely do it, but just be prepared to pivot and change
Yeah.
based off of, what market conditions are. I mean, you always need to
Yeah.
be thinking about what your competition's doing. And you also need to always be looking at, how various trends change and whatnot. So as long as you're willing to pivot and change, then you should be okay. The biggest problem entrepreneurs run into is that they get content. Then as soon as you
Yeah.
start getting content is when someone else comes in and takes over.
Sure. Okay. All righty.
So
All right. And I guess my last question is what got you into this whole entrepreneur mindset? Like what resources or mentors did you use? How did you learn all this stuff?
yeah, a lot of podcasts, lots of books, lots of videos. In my first degree, I minored in business too, so I've always kind of just been interested in it. Um,
Yeah.
and so, getting out and talking with other people, you end up finding mentors here and there of business owners that have already done it who are older than you. And so, you
Yeah.
know, some of my mentors have been other practice owners. Some of my, one of my biggest mentors when I first got started owned a landscaping business.
Okay. Wow.
So it's just, you just got to get out there. You got to start talking to people and find
Yeah.
opportunities and, see how they can help you while you help them. So,
Yeah.
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 So
It sounds like everybody has something of value, regardless of what their field is.
100%. I mean, like I said, this guy owned a landscaping company. I learned so much from him.
Yeah.
Granted, it was a landscaping company worth millions of dollars, you know,
Sure.
but
Sure.
but yeah. So, um, and there's so many podcasts out there. I mean, this is one of them, right? But there's so many others out there that every time you work out, every time you get in the car, listen to this stuff. Like there's so much knowledge out there, at your
Yeah.
fingertips that
Yeah.
you
Yeah. I
don't.
was struggling with the thought of, am I too late? Like, am I doing this too late? Is this like a bit, I mean, now with like Instagram, social media, you just see everybody's trying to open up their own business. And I'm like, is this, is this going to work? And who can I trust? And like, who should I listen to? And so, yeah,
Right,
it's good that you
right.
do that.
It's a combination of so many different things. You can't just listen to one person and follow only their steps. It
Yeah.
doesn't it just doesn't work that way, Don't even
Yeah.
you can't even just listen to me and just do everything I say. Like you really need to
Yeah.
diversify that knowledge base. And
Yeah.
there's so much out there that you can learn more in the span of a year listening to podcasts than you probably ever will, getting an MBA.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Cool. Good question. So listen, I think you're going to probably do okay. I'm not hearing anything that's concerning me here. So
Yeah.
get the NP degree and just grind it away over the next couple of years. And then once you get done, shoot me an email. We'll do a follow-up 2 years
Yeah.
from now, right before you
Yeah.
start. Make sure you're doing everything right.
Yeah. Awesome. I'll see you in 2.5 years.
All right.
All
All right. Well, good
right.
luck.
Thanks, Justin. Okay.
All
Bye.
right. Take care. Bye.
All right. Hope everyone enjoyed the episode with Becky. Listen, it doesn't matter if you are an RN or if you're a nurse practitioner, if you're an RN, getting ready to become a nurse practitioner. Okay. It is never too early to start a business. Okay. If you are in nurse practitioner school, if you are just an RN, or if you're a new grad nurse practitioner, okay, now is the time to get started because, you only have a limited amount of time on this planet. And if you just wait and wait and wait, you'll always regret it. So always get started. If you have the idea, just take action and get going. I hope everyone enjoys this episode. Talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye. Thank you for listening to the show. Quick legal disclaimer. The content of this podcast is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as legal, financial, medical, regulatory, or practice-specific advice. For information pertaining to your specific legal, financial, medical, or practice-specific needs, please be sure to consult with your lawyer, CPA, medical director, and/or your state's practice laws and the most up-to-date clinical guidelines. As always, do your due diligence when it comes to any information found online and in podcasts. The content in this podcast is copyrighted by Galaxy Medical Southwest 2023 and cannot be duplicated, rebroadcasted, or reproduced without our written permission.